Stellar Blade, developed by Shift Up. As I start the game, it surpassed even my lofty hopes. It delivers a masterful combat experience with charming atmosphere and characters worthy of the studio's name. Shift Up from Nikkei, the gacha game where hot girls shoot and shake their asses. The game released with great reviews and is already awesome, including a commentary by Yoko Taro, Nier's creator, praised it and said it's better than his own creation. Unfortunately, the game had a really hard discourse around post-launch censorship. Multiple clothes were censored in stupid ways, covering hips, the boob window, other parts of the body, and the infamous vagina bone. There was also the hard R situation. A graffiti close to the store called R Shop or R Store said hard, and people were complaining it was a reference to the N-word, which it wasn't, most likely referencing the fact that the game was rated for adults, which is starting to not be the case. Not only that, but the gore and blood from some of the enemies have been heavily or hardly censored, as before it made the protagonist dirty from said blood as well. This patch, I think version 1.02, also changed what would be the ESRB classification from 18 to 17. It might not look like much, but people should remember how dirty these company ratings is, most likely forcing the censorship around the game. At the launch event for Stellar Blade on April 26, the director, Hyung Tae Kim, acknowledged the controversy surrounding the censorship. From his words translated, he said, "We are aware of the issue. The version we ended up showing was a day one patch version. It's not an answer that will satisfy users anyway. Internal discussions are ongoing." This statement provides a glimpse into his understanding of the situation and their acknowledgement to the current response regarding some lack of appease from players. It suggests that they are taking this situation into this internal discussion, but you have to also remember they have basically Sony's gun at point blank at their heads. These also may indicate that the resolution might not be straightforward or ever be done in any way, considering the context of this release. This also exists. It's really important to mention that this censorship is happening in a console that allows butt-naked sex with bears on Baldur's Gate, multiple erotic content on Cyberpunk 2077, the appalling and horrific and disgusting The Last of Us 2, which is the worst game ever made, with explicit sex scenes, all Western games, in contrast with censorship with Asian games by Sony, which is something that is honestly historical. This is not the first time that happened for a game in a Sony console, and this is probably not going to be the last time. Censorship controversies like these surrounding Stellar Blade have a wide-reaching effects in Asian gaming in general. They can compromise the integrity of artistic visions and lead to self-censorship within the industry, stifling innovation. Such controversies also impact consumer trust and loyalty, potentially affecting sales and support for affected games from both sides of the discussion in any way. Moreover, these incidents spark discussions about freedom of expression in gaming and the role of external entities in dictating content acceptability. But generally, these external entities have nothing to do with gaming, with people who have no gaming background. They just want to be around the money itself. Players advocating for artistic freedom may drive changes in industry practices and policies, and this is more or less where I want to go into. Ultimately, how the stakeholders address these issues will shape the future of gaming. Will there be a greater transparency and consistency in censorship policies from companies like Sony, ESRB, Sweet Baby Inc? Hell no! Or will artistic expression remain subject to external scrutiny and control? To me, the greatest example of this in companies, especially in the West, is the case of Sweet Baby Inc. and its stringent content policies that have generated censorship to artistic freedom in the Western gaming world in many such cases, even on recent ones like Alan Wake. This heavy-handed approach has stifled creativity and innovation, forcing developers to conform to narrow standards and sanitize content for people who are not even part of the gaming industry or should never have been part of that. The influence extends beyond individual titles, shaping the broader media landscape by controlling the narratives and by trying to extend diversity and limiting that very diversity they so much praise and they so want to make even bigger. This climate of self-censorship prioritizes marketability over artistic integrity and deprives players of challenging content. The fight online gets worse by the day. One side attacking people who criticize the censorship, saying this behavior is of porn addicts, which belittles the situation completely, while the other side, which is criticizing the very censorship, is going an extra mile, which is debatable, even asking for refunds on the game and starting to attack the developers themselves, which are not the reason the censorship existed to begin with. Just look at freaking Nikke. This game is really good, but it has a lot of ecchi content, and this is the very point of the discussion. In my point of view, any sort of censorship is horrible and should never be accepted in any way for any side of the discussion. Unfortunately, there are things that are almost impossible to escape from, as it was certain that some sort of censorship was coming for a game from the Nikke studio, especially considering the double standards companies like ESRB and Sony give to Western Asian medias. But it's also important to note that this censor does not remove effective value from Stellar Blade. It censors an artistic vision, that is it. Punishing the creators is not the solution. In the same way, people who defend the censorship are complete fools, making this sound like the end of the world will not put the criticism against the censorship in a good spot. People need to vote with their wallet, buying the games they love, supporting their favorite developers. You don't like the censorship done by Sony? Buy Stellar Blade. Cancel your PlayStation Network subscription. Pay for content in Nikke. You have the beautiful Mordania skin now in the custom gacha. Nikke is the main game from the company. They make billions out of it, and they won't die for this censorship in a game where they don't control the distribution completely. And Nikke offers abundant ecchi content for whoever is looking for it. But by making conscious purchasing decisions, players can send a clear message to both the developers and the platforms about their preferences for uncensored content and artistic vision. I am quite sure the company, which is ShiftUp, knows what's going on, and we cannot pretend Sony and ESRB and whatever is behind this to feel like they're innocent enough that this is not a move made out of purity. This fake purity they so proclaim is honestly a big problem. It's double standards in the industry, especially for Western media against industry media, which should never have ever had any sort of competition. Games are games and they should be enjoyed wholeheartedly wherever they come from or whichever country or culture makes it. And that's what made gaming so great for me since I was little. Games brought different perspectives of life for me, and censoring perspectives is a crime to me. But we also should have reasonability when talking about these kinds of things. There's a great video by RGT Made 85. He talked about this reasonability that needs to exist in gaming. It's going to be on the description, so I hope you guys check it out as well. Thank you so much for watching until now. This was an unscripted video more or less. I'm testing different things with the channel, so I hope you can subscribe and give your opinions in the comment as well about what you're thinking about the situation. What is the problem from which side of the discussion? Because we cannot be radical on topics like this. We need to understand both sides of a discussion so progress can be made in any situation ever. Thank you so much, and talk to you later.